everybody, it is April and I'm in my craft room and I am going to finish straight line quilting my Quilt As You Go quilt. Won't you join me? So I'm going to show you what I have already done, and essentially there is a lady who quilts and she does On Point TV, I believe, and her name is Nancy, and she was straight line quilting something, and she made the comment, instead of stitching in the ditch where all these seams are, she did the stitching to the side of the ditch. And I thought, you know what? I think that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I did, and I think it looks really good. And I'm not doing both sides, so I'm just stitching on the side of the ditch, and it almost makes it look like there are multiple lines because you've got the seam as well as you've got this seam here, and then you've got your stitching, and then you've got another seam. So that is what I am doing, and I still have, I've done part of it, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to finish up the rest. So if you see here, I haven't done any of the stitching, so that's what I'm going to finish up. And straight line is great, but here I'm not going on, I'm straight line quilting, but the seam is at an angle, so I kind of have to roll my quilt around, and you'll see how I do that in order to be able to stitch. But I'm really pleased with how it's turned out so far. And by the way, this is my new table, so you probably can't see. Let me scooch it. I put this So Steady mat. My machine is set in, so that has been very, very helpful, I think. I've got a dog that wants to help. Okay, I have to wear my gloves or I can't grip the quilt. I don't know why it is. I can't. I haven't put on a walking foot. I haven't put on anything other than my regular foot, and I'm just using that, and seems to be working fine. Alright, so I'm going to adjust the quilt to where I've got some rows that need to be quilted. I think I'm going to kind of start towards the middle and work my way out. So right here, right there. And hopefully you'll be able to see what it is that I am doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is, in a seam, I'm going to put my needle down and bring it back up and pull up my bobbin thread. I have a little handy dandy pair of tweezers that I like to use to do that. And this foot is bigger, so it makes it a little bit trickier to bring it up. But here's my bobbin thread. So, right here. And I'm going to pull that back behind. Then I'll put the needle down. And I'm putting the needle down in a seam, which is, I've got my needle set in the middle. So I'm using my foot as my guide, and I'm using the edge of my foot. So I've lined up the edge of my foot with this seam, and then I will be stitching along that seam, if that makes sense. Alright, the quilt is all out of the way, needle down, foot down, I need to do a lock stitch. Alright, and now I will start sewing. And here I'm going to adjust. And then I'm stopping in the seam. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, I forgot to put my setting that makes my foot come up in, and I also need to make my stitch a little longer. Okay. So now I'm going to put my foot up, leave my needle down, and then I'm going to adjust the quilt and this is on an angle, so it's kind of a little more awkward than it would normally be because I have these diamond shapes in my quilt, so it's a little bit more awkward. And even if I'm a little off on this, which it just so happens that I'm not, it just so happens the edge of my foot over on this side lines up with the seam in my material. So it's all good. And it's nice and flat right here. And that's it. I am going to slow it down a little. And here we go. And I'll slow it down as I come to the seam, and I try to stop exactly in the seam. Okay, so now I've got that done, and because this is a diamond, I am kind of just adjusting my material. And it's getting real thick over here, which a machine with a wide throat space is really nice in this particular situation. Stitch in the ditch. And that's far enough. Then I'm going to turn it, and it should about line up. It doesn't have to be perfect. I have stitched closer to and further away from the seam line, just depending on where I ended up and if it made it easier. Okay, so I am at the edge of this. I'm going to kind of bunch up my quilt so that there's no drag, and I'm ready to go. And when I need to reposition, then I stop and restart. And just because a lot of this is in my lap, I have to stop and restart a couple times. It's dragging a little, so I'm going to adjust it. And I'm going to slow down as I get closer to my seam so that I land in my seam. So now you can see close up what I'm doing. I'm going to move the camera out so that you can see from far away. So this is the view from far away, and I will stop yakking and you can just watch what I do. thank you for joining me today. And if you would, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe, share it with your friends, and tune in next time when I'm going to add chenille. I'm also going to kind of just do a pan of the finished quilting just to let you see. Again, thanks.